So, we had a movie based on Batman the Animated Series, we had a movie based on Batman Beyond, and now a movie based on The Batman. If you're not familiar, The Batman was a more kid-friendly show that aired on Saturday mornings, and it was sort of a broad strokes adaptation of Batman. The characters were changed in ways that sometimes they were kind of subtle, other times it was very noticeable. In this case, I had actually seen the cartoon previously, and I did really like it very much, but at the same time, I recognized that I was not in the demographic for the Batman. This was definitely intended for much younger audiences than the animated series and Batman Beyond were. So my issue with this movie is, however, that I have no idea who this was made for. I could not figure that out. It's certainly not for fans of the Batman vs. Dracula comic. It takes nothing from that other than just the basic premise. The story here has a start about an inmate at Arkham talking about a large cache of buried gold, and both the Joker and the Penguin break out and attempt to find it. Batman also shows up, and in the scuffle, the Joker apparently dies, but, obviously not. The Penguin only has vague directions to go by, and instead of unearthing a bunch of valuable gold and gems, he unearths Dracula's tomb, which was moved from Transylvania to Gotham for reasons. Yeah. The Penguin accidentally revives Dracula and becomes his thrall, and Dracula goes around attacking people and creating more vampires and rebuilding his empire. At first, due to the vague descriptions of an attacker, people think that Batman is behind all of this, and when Dracula finds out about Batman, he figures, well, he must be another kindred spirit. He's a guy that's like a bat, right? So he tries to recruit him to his side, which, that's not going to work out. Dracula also tries to seduce Vicky Vale under the name of Dr. Alucard. Seriously, he really did that? That's the way they went. Though this plot is actually to capture her and drain her soul to revive his long-lost love, Carmilla. Now, if that seems a lot darker and more violent than the cartoon, then yeah, you're right, and that's the biggest of my many issues with this film. There's no demographic for it. Young kids who watch The Batman would probably be horrified by the level of violence and blood, and the entire thing just might be too spooky for them. Older Batman fans, such as myself, will be put off by the fact that the production values on this are laughable, the dialogue is cheesy, and the plot is bare bones and simple. So, in other words, to me, this is a kid's movie, but a very low-effort one at that. And it's too violent for the age group that would appreciate its dialogue and puns, so yeah, who was this made for? I'm going to give a few examples of how stupid this thing is. Let's see. Batman figures out that Dr. Alucard is actually Dracula by writing down the name Alucard and then holding it up to a mirror, instead of, just immediately realizing it and being like, oh, that's Dracula backwards. When Dracula awakens, he assumes he's in Transylvania, but then the Penguin tells him, oh, you're in Gotham. And then Dracula suddenly gives the backstory, complete with flashback imagery of how his remains were relocated to Gotham. How does he know that? And if he did know that, why would he assume that he was in Transylvania to begin with? There's a scene near the end where the Penguin is attacking Vicky Vale, and she drops him with a swift kick to the groin. But then after he recovers, she runs away like she's afraid of this squat little man who she had already laid out a minute ago. He doesn't even have any weapons. He's just trying to grab her. It's just terrible. Like, didn't you just kick him in the nuts? It's just really just to get another chase scene out of this whole thing. To make matters worse, at the end, the general press goes from blaming Batman to blaming the Penguin, even though that makes no sense. His method of operations, his abilities, it doesn't fit. It doesn't work with the whole, kidnapping people and turning them into vampires, and it just doesn't work. The whole crypt thing. Like, you're going to blame the Penguin for that? They could have blamed the Joker, because at one point in this movie, the Joker does become a vampire, and he was already in custody. He could have easily taken the fall. I mean, Batman captured him. The Joker thing is really stupid. He, quote-unquote, dies by falling down, and then he comes back later with just some, I was caught in a fishing net kind of thing. And then he's turned into a vampire. He's quickly captured and used by Batman as a guinea pig to make a vampire cure, and then that's it. The movie just kind of forgets about him. You never find out what happened to him. You can make the assumption that he was returned to Arkham Asylum, but it's just not touched on. And like I said, he could have easily taken the fall for everything that happened, especially since the Joker didn't seem to remember anything that he did as a vampire. So if you told him that he did that, he'd probably be like, yes, that sounds like me. Overall, the movie's too spooky for kids, and it's too stupid for adults. I found myself just taking away the minutes, just waiting for it to be over. The only thing that I can say is at least it's not the worst Batman movie that I've seen. I'm going to give this one a 2 out of 10.